I, 28, was 5 weeks pregnant with my son Jack when my husband got involved in an auto accident that left him on ventilator for a few days, then he passed away. This absolutely ended me. I was going through the worst days of my life. I had to go to the hospital. I was suffering from anemia because I didn't eat for 2 days following the funeral. I felt tired, weak and pale all the time. My family, who hated my husband, especially my brother, showed up at the hospital and starting talking about my health and how the pregnancy was probably causing this, and he told me I should consider abortion since being a new widow, having health problems weren't suitable condition to raise a child in. I was in disbelief. I knew he hated my husband and hated that I was pregnant with his baby, so he brought up abortion to get rid of him permanently. I was so mad. I asked him how could he expect me to let go of the last piece I have of my husband who was taken from me all of a sudden. I told him how my husband was so excited to be a dad and how much this meant to him. I called him selfish and insensitive for even thinking about it, and I cut contact with him after that. Now my son is 3 months old. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't wish that my husband was here with us. It's so unfair, and my son didn't deserve not having his dad around. Last week, my mom called me. She started talking about my brother's financial struggles and how his could no longer pay for rent because his work project that he put money got cancelled. She suggested that he and his pregnant wife could come stay at my place for a couple of months till he figured out something. She said she has no room for them in her house because she already has her niece stay with her after she and her husband divorced. I told her that I couldn't let him live with me after he blatantly told me to get abortion just out of spite and hate for my husband. I told her how hurt I felt and how difficult it was to realize that my son was rejected by him and now he wants to be part of my and my son's life. My mom lashed out saying that I should let go of the past and that I can't just refuse to let his pregnant wife in and cause them to be homeless. I told her no, but she tried to argue and pressure me into saying yes. I hung up on her, but she kept calling to shame me and guilt trip and say that I was being cruel and selfish. No idiots here, hear me out. My sister went through exactly the same thing 14 years ago, and I brought up the same thing as your brother as an option, not because I hated her dead husband, but because I was worried for her. I'm so glad that she was able to talk to me and explain her point of view. She has the most amazing daughter and I'm a very big part of their lives. That conversation is not always automatically an attack as you seem to have decided it was. People say the wrong thing sometimes. I'm so sorry for your loss. Your brother could have been viciously attacking the legacy of your husband, or he could have been fumbling through trying to support you. Only you can make that call. But please see the possibility that not all awful suggestions come from a place of malice, instead from ineptitude. Not the idiot. Why would you jump from not speaking to someone to suddenly living with them? That's insane. You are still grieving your husband and you have a 3-month-old child. You definitely don't need to add any stress or drama to your home. Your mother should not be acting as a middleman between her grown children. If she continues to bring it up, tell her you will not be discussing it further and hang up. I hope you can take comfort in your child and I wish you all the peace. Are you certain he suggested this strictly out of hate for your late husband? I'm glad things have gone well for you, and I certainly would not have suggested what he did, but he did have some true points. Being recently widowed does make raising a child difficult. Once more, I agree it was a terrible thing to suggest. I'm simply curious if his statement may have come from a real place of concern, even if it was a rather twisted place. Basically, my husband and I have been married about 6 years and have a 3-year-old daughter, Elle. Prior to getting married and having Elle, we were both very independent people. This hasn't changed. As much as we value our couple and family time, we also both cherish time to ourselves and with our own friends. We came up with an agreement that we each get 1 weekend a year to do whatever we like, go away, stay in a hotel, go out with friends, while the other stays home looking after Elle. It's been working really well so far. Well, this past weekend was my husband's time, and he chose a fishing trip with his pals, staying in a cabin roughly 30 minutes away. No problems. Saturday morning, the worst happened. My sister was involved in a serious car wreck. She's on life support, it's touch and go and I'm devastated. I can't say much more. I called my husband to tell him and ask he come home as soon as possible, and he refused. He said it's his weekend and he'll come by the hospital Monday. He wasn't totally heartless. He listened to me cry and scream and reassured me she'd be okay. How do we know that? But he was adamant that he's enjoying the remainder of his weekend and will join me today. My family are obviously noticing his absence, and I'm too embarrassed to tell them. I understand this is interfering with his weekend, but this is my sister and she's in critical condition. I'm stunned, he's never been this selfish before. I'm angry, upset, confused, and I just don't know what to do. I told him if he didn't come home now, don't bother coming home at all. Now I'm wondering if I was too harsh because I haven't slept in 2 days and I'm a wreck. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He was adamant that he's enjoying the remainder of his weekend. Just read that back to yourself for a second. His top priority is catching base 30 minutes from you, while his sister-in-law is on life support. Not only will he not return to comfort and support you, but he wants to enjoy himself while you crumble. Think about that for a while. Also, I'm very sorry for what has happened to your sister. I sincerely hope she pulls through. As an internet stranger, it may not mean much, but I will keep you and your family in my thoughts for the best. He is so much the idiot, it's insane. It's not even like this, he's in another country and it would cost thousands to come back and he and his friends wouldn't be able to afford to this trip again. He's literally 30 minutes away. I doubt he'd be out much money and I'm sure he'll be able to go fishing with his friend again. To choose that over being with and supporting his wife who is taking care of their child alone while her sister is in critical condition is insane. Even in the other scenario, I feel like a large majority of husbands would at least offer to come home. He could reschedule the weekend easily and go again when your sister has stabilized. For comparison, someone I'm close to found out his father has terminal cancer and his girlfriend quit her job and moved to a different country to be there and support him and his family through the last months. And your husband can't even give up one weekend for an emergency. I'm so sorry, OP, this must be incredibly hard for you. I hope your sister starts to improve really soon. As soon as she does, you should probably have a serious talk with your husband about how this has made you feel. I have been struggling to conceive for the past 9 years. It has been a very brutal journey for me and my husband. We have experienced many disappointments. My sister is also happily married and they adopted 2 teenagers who are also siblings. I have stopped going to my sister for any emotional support as her advice has always been just adopt. I know that she thinks that the fact that I want to spend so much money on fertility treatments instead of adopting is stupid. In the past few years, I haven't spoken to my sister because my life revolved around the treatments and I didn't have any time for her negativity. This whole experience changed a lot of things in my life. Everything is sometimes heartbreaking and I get irrationally emotional. I am pro-choice and I know that in my brain, but when someone mentions that they had abortion, I immediately see red. I usually remove myself from the situation and I feel very bad and guilty for even thinking some awful things about women. Recently we had a family dinner for our parents' anniversary and she seemed a little off. My mom kept asking her what happened. At first, she wouldn't tell what happened. After dinner, me, mom and my sister were sitting in the living room while the guys and the kids were outside. My sister was grimacing and my mom again asked her what happened. She confided that she recently had an oops and had 2 about. She said that she already had 2 kids and she doesn't want more. I froze. I had always assumed that my sister was also facing problems, which is why she adopted. It felt like a punch to the gut to find out that wasn't the case. Worse, my mother was gushing and telling my sister how proud she was of her and that she was so brave. Something broke in me. I yelled. I screamed. I said some awful things. I said that her family wasn't real and she was an idiot for having an abortion. I told her that the fact that she would have an abortion for them was stupid. I told her that she wasn't even a woman because she couldn't appreciate the joys of pregnancy. I told her that she was going to regret doing this when they turn 18 and forget all about her. I stormed out after that, and after having another breakdown in my own house, I felt guilty and ashamed. I called my sister and mother next day and told them I was sorry. Both of them were incredibly pissed at me, especially because the kids overheard me telling that they weren't her real kids. I have been informed that they were all going to cut contact with me. I have apologized and tried to explain my side of things and they aren't willing to listen. I don't think I should lose my family for a mistake, but I don't know. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. You're extraordinarily horrible for saying her adopted children are not really her kids. You're also an idiot for thinking that the only reason one would consider adoption is because of fertility issues. Your inability to conceive is a difficult burden to bear, but in no way justifies your very cruel words towards your sister and her family. You are right to be ashamed, and I only hope that time will allow your sister to accept your apology. A mistake means a lack of intention behind the results of your actions. Like dropping a glass and breaking it. Are you trying to say you didn't intend to say that her family isn't real? That she's not a real woman and that her children don't actually love her? That doesn't sound like a lack of intention. That sounds like a deeply honest appraisal of your views towards your sister and her family and of adoptive families in general. Maybe your mistake here was revealing how you actually feel about them, and what you've revealed is deeply hateful. I don't blame them for going no contact. You have a long way to go if you ever want to see them again. You're the idiot. I watched my auntie go through so many failed IVF procedures. They're not cheap, and it's heartbreaking when it doesn't work. She never once flipped her crap on other family members who got pregnant. The way you spoke to your sister is disgusting. I get you're going through a rough time, but still it's not an excuse to treat someone like crap. Also, I'd just like to say I don't understand what your issue with adopting is. It's an incredibly selfless thing to do. My wife's sister recently gave birth to twins. Her labor was difficult, so she asked my wife to come and help her for a week or two while she recovered. A bit of background about us. My wife and I have 3 kids of our own, and she is a stay-at-home mom. A lot of things around the house fall on her, but that doesn't mean I don't know how to do everything she does or take care of our kids. I can if I need to do it, because I had to do it all by myself, with the exception of taking care of the kids when I lived alone. My wife was very nervous about going away for so long. Partly it was because she'd never been away from our kids for so long, but she also worried about how I would do alone with our kids for a week or two. I had no concerns, but she seemed to think I would be helpless and couldn't manage alone. She kept asking me if we would be alright even as she was leaving. Honestly, I was pretty offended. I consider myself extremely independent and capable. I also had no idea she thought I was so incompetent and unable to manage without her, like I am just another one of the kids, even though I clean up after myself and handle most of my personal needs. I decided that I would double my efforts while she was gone to show her that I can manage everything fine by myself. The kids had a great time and were telling their mom how much they enjoyed our week and a half and how much they wish things were always like this. The house looked great and was spotless from top to bottom. I even managed to find time to get a few projects done around the house. I thought my wife would be proud and happy that things went so well, but she seemed disappointed. That only seemed to get worse over the next week, but she told me she was fine. I finally started to wonder if it wasn't something I did, but was something that happened while she was away. I contacted my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and my sister-in-law told me that my wife was hurt because she felt like our family didn't need her and didn't miss her. My sister-in-law thinks I did too much and should have not tried so hard to show my wife that I can do everything without her. That doesn't make any sense to me, but I have to ask if I am the idiot. No idiots here exactly, but you seem pretty smug. Congrats on managing so well. Were you pretty tired after all that effort? Would you want to do it all the time? I wonder why your wife didn't know you were so capable. Perhaps she hasn't had the chance to see how well you can manage when she was juggling it all. If she had seen how well you can function when you are motivated by the desire to show her up, she wouldn't have worried. You are the idiot for how personally you took her concern. She was leaving her family behind for 2 weeks. It's perfectly natural she'd be concerned. Instead of reassuring her, you decided to turn it into a competition, which is pretty childish. You did well taking care of your family for 2 weeks. Bully for you. Your wife does it every single day of the year. I wonder how happy your kids would have been once you lost interest and stopped trying so hard. Here is another way to put this story. I can easily do everything my wife does and get along fine without her. When she went away, I proved it. Am I the idiot for communicating to my wife that I don't appreciate her and all that she does for us? Later in the comments you said you weren't even tired and you could do everything she does all the time. But you're wondering why her feelings are hurt. If you're telling us you think she is unnecessary for the family, you're probably communicating that to her too. For background context, my sister is in her 30s. She got pregnant a few years ago by a man she had barely been dating for a short while. He told her he wasn't interested in being a father and would not be active in the child's life and asked for an abortion. She accepted to be a single parent and continued on with the pregnancy. Her child is now nearly 5 years old. More background information. Growing up, me and my sister never got along. As kids we never played together because we simply did not like each other. When she left to college she never called me and she rarely spoke to me when she would come back home. I got pregnant at an early age, 20, and when I did she told me not to expect sympathy from her since I was a young unwed mother. When she was pregnant she was bitter because of the father being absent and took her anger out on me. The tables definitely turned. Current situation. She is constantly whining about not having free time to herself and she always needs a break from parenting. She basically manipulates my mom and dad to babysit for her because she feels like parenting alone is too much. Mind you, I now have 3 kids, our other sister has 3 kids, and we never get breaks or time to ourselves because this is what we signed up for. If my mother does not babysit, she calls her out and says she isn't being a good grandma for not wanting to spend time with her granddaughter. My mom works full-time and still she is made to always babysit for my sister because she needs a break. This is what really put the nail in the coffin. My sister's birthday was recently and she wanted to go out because she needs another break from parenting. She asked my mom to babysit, of course my mom agreed, but told her to pick up her child early the next day around 6 a.m. because my mom had something to do at 7 a.m. My sister got upset and told her that's too early and she needs more time. She said she'd be hungover and doesn't feel like getting up that early. So my sister called me and asked if I could babysit instead so she can stay out later the following morning. I told her why can't she get up at 6 a.m. She should be grateful that our mother is even offering to babysit at all. She went on to vent that she never gets time to herself and that she deserves to sleep in and be hungover without waking up early. I said I haven't gotten a break away from my kids in years and that she doesn't deserve special treatment because she's a single mom. That she is clearly using her situation to gain sympathy from everyone. She hung up and we haven't spoken since. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If she is unhappy about the pickup time then she can pay for a babysitter like normal people. I do feel a lot for this kid. He is growing up without a dad who didn't want him and a mom who constantly needs a break. If it hasn't already, that will eventually weigh on him a lot. If her kid gets along with yours, I'd want to watch him or her more just to give the kid a break from your sister. But that's also not your responsibility and you don't owe it to the kid or his mom. I just really hope there is one person in this whole scenario that loves the kid unconditionally. Your mother could stop enabling the spoiled child, your sister. At her age, she shouldn't be going out with the express purpose of being a hungover drunk anyway. It's time she grew up and stopped being a bad example to her child. She is raising another generation of selfish, spoiled, entitled parents. Everyone's the idiot here. Yes, your sister is an adult and doesn't need to get blasted and have time to be hungover alone. It's selfish. She can hire an actual babysitter if she's that in need. But honestly, as a mom myself, I don't martyr myself like how you're coming off. You're allowed a break. It doesn't make you a better parent that you don't take breaks. You're allowed to have that too.